Up next in the restoration of this 1934 Model A four-door is the rebuilding and installation of this Marvel-Schebler carburetor. What's that? You'd never heard of a Marvel-Schebler? Yeah, I hadn't either. Stay tuned. When I first got the car, it had a Tillotson carburetor on it, and it was very warped. The top and bottom halves of the carburetor were so bad that gasoline poured right out of it. And I took it to two machine shops here in town, trying to get them to machine it, to get two smooth surfaces that were flat, and neither one of them would do it. They said to set up the jig because of the venturi down here would have been too much because it was all solid. I couldn't even get it out. So my next door neighbor, a good neighbor Todd, happened to have a carburetor from one of his other Model A's, and I got it, and I'm looking at it, and I've never seen anything like it before. And what's really weird is there were no markings on the body at all. And I'm looking online for pictures, and I actually, and Todd didn't have any idea who the manufacturer was either, but the pictures online is how I figured out that this was a Marvel-Schebler. So here it is. And so this was when I first got the car. I got the rebuilding kit from Dave Renner. His link to his website and contact information is in the description page down below. But I got the parts to rebuild the carburetor, and I got it to run, and it works great. So that was then. Today is now, and the next step in getting the engine going and the whole restoration process is to get this rebuilt once again. There was a lot of corrosion on here, and what I did was I went online. I'm reading about carburetor paint and the fact that most of those paints will come off eventually because of gasoline, properties in the gasoline. However, one gentleman suggested Cerakote. And that's what I did. I have a local powder coating company here that I've used on a bunch of parts, and they do Cerakote as well. Cerakote is like powder coat, only a lot thinner. Okay, and a lot of black parts have been done. The rims have been powder coated. You can tell it's pretty thick stuff that's on there. This is not thick at all. And it came out great. They bead blasted it first and then Cerakoted it, and it looks really nice. And I'm told that gas will not take this off. So only time will tell if that's true. But what I'm going to do here is rebuild this thing and put all new parts in it. It's completely stripped and fits together just great. This, by the way, happened to be sold back in the 30s, and I was doing some research on these carburetors, and the company started in 1902. Today, they're still in business. They don't make them for Model A's anymore, obviously, but they do manufacture carburetors for aircraft. So they've been around a long time. It's kind of a cool story about the whole thing, how it all transitioned. Down in the description is the link to the Marvel-Schebler website, and you can go to the history page and read all about the history if you so desire. The other thing is that there's a gentleman that did a video on YouTube. His name is Robert Sumption, and he did it about 4 years ago. A very good video, and the link is down below as well for you to go check it out if you're more interested in Marvel-Schebler carburetors. But their claim to fame is the design. The Zeniths and the Tillotsons had the float going parallel with the direction of travel. So when you put on the brakes, it would shut off and you would stall the car. These guys did it 90 degrees. That all they did was take the float and turn it 90 degrees. And now when you go up to a stop sign, you're not going to shut off the fuel to the engine. So that's their claim to fame of making this thing. This was marketed through Sears and Roebuck catalogs way back in the day under the name of Allstate or Sears 2405, whatever. So I'm going to put this thing together. I'm not going to bore you with every single piece, me going in here and doing this. There are videos for that, but I'm going to put this together and then I'll be right back. Well, there you go. Boy, that didn't take very long at all. Probably half an hour. I was taking my time answering some phone calls and walking around here, so it didn't take long at all. And it pretty cool. One thing that I have to do once it's on the car is to adjust the float. You don't bend the tabs inside on the float itself. There are little shims or washers that you stick inside the bowl area here. And to do that, you use this little gadget right here that screws into the bottom like this. And then you open up the fuel, and it's supposed to be 3/4 of an inch below the where the two halves go together. So I've got to do that once the car's got fuel in it, and that'll be down the road for sure. Okay. The other thing to talk about is the air filter. Now, it looks like it's got this ring around here, and it's designed to have an air filter on here. Dave Renner says absolutely not, and he's provided reasoning behind it. Evidently, there is a thing called pressure balance circuit inside having to do with the fuel and the air mixture. And if you put an air filter on here, it can cause some safety issues and back pressure issues and on and on. So he's saying, and actually Marvel-Schebler is saying, don't put an air filter on this. That's what he says. So, I could see it maybe back in the old days when there were dirt roads. It would make more sense, but everything is concrete and asphalt now. There's not going to be much dirt getting in here anyway. Plus, there's a filter here and, whatever. So I'm going to leave it as is. I'm not going to put an air filter on it. But let's now go ahead and stick it on to the engine, okay? Okay, we have our gasket and our bolts and our wrench and ready to stick this thing on. So let's do that right now. One good thing about that Cerakote is that it's so thin that if it gets on threads, either male or female threads, it's not like powder coat that's really thick that's going to screw that up. This is going right in. I haven't touched it. All of the pieces that had Cerakote on it, I just went right in with no problem at all. So I sure hope that this holds up to the fuel as they're claiming that it will. The other thing that you have to be careful of is not to over tighten this because of this cast aluminum will warp because of the heat and all. So get it up there nice and snug, but don't cinch it down. Okay, so the throttle rod is on. Let's push on the foot pedal, and it's moving really nice and smooth here. So it looks like we got another accomplished. I got to get the fuel line on. I got to get the float adjusted when we get fuel down somewhere down the road. So we're looking good for right now.
You're going to want to subscribe to my channel to be notified about the next video, which is part 17. The video will be very informative. It's about my new generator that performs like an alternator. Plus, I want to show you the finished front end of the chassis and the engine. Oh, the engine. I sure hope this thing starts. Thanks for watching.